This week on American Grindstone, we got to sit down with Brian Davidson, the new CEO of Trayvax. Brian knows a lot about business, but the reality is we're more interested in his hunting trips in southern Africa and racing Jeeps 500 miles across the American Southwest. So buckle up, get ready. We're going to learn some good stuff from a good man, Brian Davidson.
The grindstone.
My sonny boy kept his nose to the grindstone.
Never give up, never surrender.
Brian Davidson, welcome to American Grindstone.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You're having a good beard day today.
Thank you. I work hard on keeping this beard. I can't quite pull off the Sean Taylor beard, but
Well, this one, I trimmed up a little bit this week.
I see that.
It is on point. Both of you. Just peppered in perfectly.
Well, everybody that we're going to have this season is going to have a beard.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's our whole shtick.
So anybody else going to have a ginger beard going on? Or
No,
is
just
that
Brian.
Just
Brian?
That's reserved for me. We actually don't invite those people
Yeah.
in this room.
We
Fair
keep
enough.
them
Yeah.
away. Tactical grandma, bearded. She can't come unless she's bearded. Right? That's how we're going to do it. It's going to
I
be
love
amazing. Brian, you're a man of many things. And you own Trayvax. You just bought that this spring. Tell us a little bit about what led you to do that. As Trayvax is our big sponsor for the show, I think it's important that people get to know a little bit about you and why you're here.
Yeah, I mean, I got involved with Trayvax because I got to know Mark King. Mark was the founder of Trayvax, super nice guy. Completely different skill set than what I've got. Great product designer, just a super nice guy. And he was one of those guys that was great at developing product, but business was not really his strength. And when I say that, it takes us kind of a special set of skills to run and manage a business, and it takes a different set of skills to design product. And Mark was one of those guys that I really looked up to because he could do some things I just couldn't do. He could develop new products. He could do the CAD drawings, do the vision, do all that sort of thing. And so when the opportunity came up where Mark wanted to take a different role in the company, I thought there'd be a great opportunity here. So Mark is still involved. Mark still is one of the owners of the company. I own controlling interest, but Mark is still super actively involved. So we haven't lost the portions of the business that Mark is really good at, and then I can bring some skills to the table as well.
What do you think? How do you think you contrast to Mark? What do you think you bring to the table with your skill set?
Yeah, I think I have a better finance background for sure. Maybe a little bit different people set of people skills.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that Mark struggled with a little bit, I've struggled with it at times as well. I mean, it's just the reality is when you're dealing with a lot of employees and you're dealing with bankers and accountants and all the different things that go into it, how to keep all that tied together is difficult. It's been one of my strengths. If you look at my main company, I've got employees I've had for 20, 25 years, guys that have been with me forever and just stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And building that kind of loyalty and building that kind of rapport is a unique skill set. And it comes naturally for me. It's easy for me, but it's not easy. It's not easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
being able to keep employees is one of the biggest things for any growing company or any company in general.
Yeah, for sure.
So you own other companies. Tell us a little bit about that.
So one of the companies I started back in 2000 is a company called Batting Cages Inc., and we have several different divisions. We sell more batting cages than anybody on the planet right now. So a little town called Everson, Washington, and we sell thousands upon thousands upon thousands of batting cages, and we've sold to major league teams. We've sold to I couldn't even begin to list how many colleges. We just finished a gigantic, job for University of Illinois. We did Hayward Field for University of Oregon.
Wow.
So we're dealing with some top-notch players. I mean, we work for Lockheed Martin, and when Nike had their golf division, we did all the netting and helped them develop products for Nike. So that's kind of my main go-to core business. It's allowed me to do all the other things.
Yeah. So you have a fitness business.
Yes.
That's Forge Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
You have Elements Hospitality. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Elements Hospitality, I'm not directly involved in on a regular basis. I came in and provided some some short-term help on the finance side and on the banking side. When they need a little bit of help, they don't really need me anymore. But Elements is a really cool company. Elements, man, talk about an A-team group of guys. I mean, we work with Wyndham is one of our biggest customers. We renovate hotels, senior living, and timeshares kind of all over America. We probably do more work in Hawaii than any other state, but we also do work in Orlando. We do work in Tennessee. Wow. We're renovating a bunch of really high-end facilities downtown Bellevue right now. Yeah. And it's just a great group of guys. I got 2 partners in that business, and they're both super honest, super good guys to work with. And then you look at the team of estimators and project managers, and I mean, it's just, to me, it's like working with an all-star team.
Absolutely.
These are all top-notch guys. And one of my partners in particular, Tim Broersman, has been great at recruiting and holding together, a team of really, really top-notch guys. Mm-hmm. And so the company's profitable. We're becoming a pretty major player in the renovation business. We stay to our lane. We don't do any ground-up work. It's all renovation work, and so you kind of learn how to specialize in that, because the requirements in a renovation company is much different than ground up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, ground up, you can make all the noise you want. It's not a big deal. You're working for, we're renovating the Westin right now in downtown Bellevue. You want to be invisible. The customer does not want to see your presence. So you have to really plan out how you're going to make yourself invisible, so that your customer doesn't lose any revenue over the fact that you're renovating the building. So,
and I saw you guys. Those are those nice offices on Front Street, right? Elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen those. Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
We did that renovation.
Did you? It was gorgeous. That big open
we hired
room.
a top-notch renovation company.
Yeah, me and my wife always walk by, and I'm like, "What is this place? What do they do?" And now it's crazy. I'm sitting across from you.
Yeah, and we kind of fly under the radar a little bit, because a lot of people have no idea what Elements Hospitality does. Yeah, and we're becoming one of the bigger employers in Linden. We're growing like crazy, and we're doing it right. We're building the structure from the ground up. Our customers love us. We take really good care of them. We don't change order people to death. We make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And in today's business world, man, that's the most important thing is just developing a relationship with your customers where they know if you give a promise, you're going to do everything you can to keep your commitments. And it's one of those things where it seems like I'm aging myself, but nobody does handshake deals anymore, and Elements we certainly don't, but we take our commitments seriously. And the same with Batting Cages Inc. and Christensen Networks and those companies is you don't have to be dishonest to be successful in business. You could tell the truth, but sometimes you're going to have to step up and take a loss when you've made a promise that you made a mistake. You stand behind it anyway. You make it right. And so we end up developing this customer base that they really trust us, because they know that we're going to do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah, integrity. That's hard. It's harder to find these days.
It is definitely harder to find than it used to be, for sure.
Yeah, when I was looking over the dossier, I saw the BCI, Batting Cages Inc. And at first I thought Bat Cages Inc. And I'm like, what does that mean? Does it he sells bat cage? They make bat cages, sell them to scientists, or you could be sitting there watching Ace Ventura: Pet Detective 2 when nature calls. The bat cage and that. Brian made that.
Brian made the bat cages.
The first thing I
we do a lot of business in Wuhan.
Yeah. You were glad to. It was you. No,
no, that was the previous guy. Their cages have holes in them.
Yeah, exactly. Empty cages.
They brought Brian in to make better bat cages.
Better bat cages.
So that the bats will stay in.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's been a fun business. I mean, I remember when we first started this thing, it was kind of the early days of e-commerce marketing. Yeah. And so we developed a website that just blew everybody else out of the water. I mean, it wasn't even close. And so at the time, Jugs was the biggest seller of batting cages, on earth. We caught them and passed them before they even knew we existed, because they were selling directly to schools. So they had a marketing program that was designed to sell directly to schools. Well, all of a sudden, people could go online. They could look up backyard batting cage. And Jugs did a crummy job on that. So the market just went up exponentially. Because what would you do in the year 1999 if you wanted a batting cage to put in your backyard? maybe you go find somebody that sells fishing nets and you put up a couple 6x6 posts and try to fab something in your backyard.
Yep.
It's a DIY project at this point, right?
And it was going to be garbage, and it wasn't going to hold up very well. And so, it was a paradigm shift in the market that our competitors just didn't recognize fast enough. And so we were definitely able to fly under the radar, and we became number one in the industry before anybody even knew we were out there, other than our backyard guys.
They pigeonholed themselves where you were like, hey, we could actually bring this to everyone's backyard.
Yep, exactly.
And then what was that? Just the love of the game? Then you're like, hey man, I love baseball. This is how I'm going to get into this, or
not really. Yeah. I mean, I liked baseball. I played baseball in high school. I played it, up through American Legion ball. Didn't play college ball, but I always liked the game. But mostly, I liked being in sports in general. Yeah, and I like business, and so I look for opportunities in business more than I look for opportunities in a specific, a specific niche. Yeah. So you look at renovating hotels and senior living and timeshare. I got no particular passion about that, but it's an opportunity to make a cool business and make a positive impact on our community, and
for sure,
and hire guys at decent wages, and so to me that's the fun part of it, is the business aspect more than the specific industry.
Wow. When you, you sound like you got a lot of stuff going on.
That's because I have a lot of stuff going on.
Exactly. How do you find time for extra?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the simple answer is I do too much. And every year, around Christmas time, I do the traditional, resolution that I'm gonna scale back and I'm gonna do less. But it's kind of like, I used to have a dog that I could throw a ball and he would chase it. And it didn't matter how tired he was going to chase that ball. And if I threw it across Interstate 5, he was going to chase that ball. Even if it killed him, he was going to chase that ball. That's kind of me. And I struggle to scale back, and I need to, but I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
And part of it is I'm passionate about what I do. I love what I do. And you still have to say no at some point. At some point, you can just take on too many opportunities, and it can kill you. So that's the short answer, is I take on too much. Probably the more nuanced answer is I've hired good people, and so if you look at Elements, they don't need me anymore. They needed me for a very brief season, and they got, our manager knows what he's doing. Our accounting guys know what they're doing. Our estimators, those guys, they can run the thing themselves. I look at my batting cage company, the netting company. I've got a general manager who's really good. He knows what he's doing. And my accounting team knows what they're doing. My sales guys know what they're doing. Yeah. So a lot of it is I'm not afraid to hire people that are smarter than I am. In fact, I want to hire people that are smart. And I think it's part of being a team athlete, early on is, I don't care if Michael Jordan's better than me. I want the best guy I can get on the basketball team. Yep. If you want to win. And so I think a lot of it is I've hired guys and have been able to retain guys that are smarter than I am, work harder than I do, that really just know what they're doing. And I try to treat those guys really well.
Yeah, building that team where you can actually just be in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's certain aspects. If I had to do accounting all the time, I would shoot myself in the head. I couldn't do it. It's just not the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
So building the team is the fun part of it for me. And so that's what I'm good at. And that's what I like to do is put together a good team. So.
The heart, the essence of our podcast is going beyond the 9 to 5, right? We're talking a lot about your 9 to 5, and I want to do that because I want people to kind of get an understanding kind of for who you are. But just like your businesses are diverse, your interests and hobbies are also equally as diverse.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true.
One of the things that we have adorned our studio with is Hillary, the monitor lizard, back here on the wall behind you. You got that big game hunting in Africa. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my first Africa trip, I had a chance to go bow hunting, and I showed up at this concession. It's 20,000 acres, and the very first day, I go out with a guide or a professional hunter, and he's never been with a bow hunter before, and so I'm literally having to instruct that guy on how. And I remember he looks at me and he says, "How close do we have to be with that?" And it's 30 yards. And I can hit out to 60 yards if I'm standing in my backyard, but you get when your blood's pumping and your heart rate's up and you got wind and you're not sure exactly how far
You're quite literally out of your element. You're in Africa.
Yeah, it's different. So you have to calculate for that. You have to be closer. And this guy's just looking at me and he's shaking his head. No, can't do. You show me. So I'm pointing out trees. Like, I got to get that close. He's like, no. So I'm having to instruct him on how to do it, because he's used to rifle hunters where you get within 200 yards and you're done.
Yeah.
And so we ended up, the day 2 we stalked in on an Inyala, and I managed to kill this Inyala.
What's an Inyala?
Yeah.
It's just one of the plains animals they have in Africa, and it was the first one I killed with a bow there. So and this guy was so excited because he'd never seen anybody get that close to one. And what we did was, day 1 we were on the wrong side of the river. The next day we came on the other side of the river because the prevailing wind. I knew we were on the wrong side, so we came in the other side. And basically that Inyala just walked in on me because we were in the correct location. And I just hunkered down behind a tree. And then when he got close enough, I was able to shoot him. Well, he was all excited, so he goes to town.
The guide was excited, not the Inyala.
The Inyala was less than excited.
excited.
In fact, he was less than thrilled
And quite depressed.
Yeah. But so my professional hunter goes to town, and we're in the northern part of South Africa, just barely south of Zimbabwe, and he gets all drunked up and comes back to the concession with 2 or 3 other women, and he's a married man, and so at 4:00 in the morning, I hear this massive fight broke out and pots and pans flying and all this noise, and apparently wives don't like it when you come home with other women from town, mostly drunk. And so, I'm like, what the heck was that about? Go back to sleep. And 5:30, we get up and I'm ready to go hunting again. And the owner of the concession comes and he said, look, I've fired this guy from your case. We're going to put you, if it's okay with you, I'd like to give you a different hunter. I said, well, why would I mind? I don't care. And he said, well, he's only 18 years old. And he introduces me to his son, and his son, whose name was Rick. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking, I got this 18-year-old kid, but I've always been young at heart, and I was like, let's see how it goes. And so the owner of the concession, whose name was Johan, and he says, look, he said the kid grew up on the property. Mm-hmm. He's a bow hunter, so he's got blinds that we don't ever hunt out of, and he knows this property like the back of his hand. So I got to hunt with Rick, and we just hit it off and have an absolute blast.
That's great.
And so we're sitting over a water hole, and we're hunting dry season. So if you hunt over the water holes, you're going to see game because they got to drink. And this big lizard comes crawling in. Well, if you're hunting with most big game guides, they would ignore that. But I got this 18-year-old guy, and it's like, dude, we got to look at that rock monitor. Think you can hit him from here? And I'm 30 yards away, and I've got a target that is about a 3-inch target that I got to hit from 30 yards. So I stuck him, and then all of a sudden, but it didn't kill him. And lizards are really difficult to kill. So we head over there, and Rick is like, you want me to grab him or you want to grab him? And I'm looking at this thing. And it's like, well, they look like they could bite pretty hard, and those claws look sharp. And he says, yeah, they bite really hard, and the claws are really sharp.
You are correct, sir.
So it's like, yeah, I want to do it myself. It's like, how many opportunities you got?
Yeah, good on you. Good on you.
This.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, you're going to come in right behind his head, and you're going to squeeze hard. And believe me, you can't squeeze too hard. You don't want him to get loose because, obvious reasons you don't want him to get loose.
Yes.
And then you're going to grab him here. And so I did that, and I grabbed him as hard as I can. I mean, I'm putting the kung fu grip on this thing. I think this thing, what's the worst case scenario? He dies. That's the goal anyway.
Yes.
And then we try to kill him, and we finally get him. We finally get the thing dead.
Oh my gosh!
And it's like, all right. So I'm going to put that on my desk, and I'm going to have him stuffed where his lower jaw's level, so I can put my business cards on there. But I got to hunt. We hunted baboons at midnight with shotguns and flashlights.
Holy cow!
And it was just one of those experiences where we're sitting in the lodge, and they got this little tiki bar, and we're sitting around, and watching rugby. And when Rick says, hey, you want to go hunt baboons? It's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. When? I said, well, right now. It's like, dude, it's dark outside. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he says, that's all right. So he had this other guy hunting with us. His name is Andre. And he sends Andre out, and he's speaking Afrikaans. I can't understand a word he's saying. But 30 minutes later, Andre comes back, and he's got a couple of shotguns, a roll of duct tape and a couple of flashlights. And it's like, what the heck is this all about? And so,
Do I trust it? Do I go?
and I'm thinking, all right, the kid's 18, but he grew up on this property. It's probably cool. You know, we're probably not going to die.
No.
And so next thing you know, it's like pitch black outside, and I'm trying to follow him down these trails, and there's not even enough light. I mean, I'm 3 feet behind him. I can barely see it. And then he stops. He says, all right, we're going to get under this tree. And this is one of the trees where these baboons will rest. Now, in South Africa, the baboon population has exploded because a lot of the predatory animals have declined. So there's not as many leopards and lions as there used to be.
Gotcha.
And so the baboons have really taken over, and they're wiping out other species, especially birds and some of the smaller species. So he said, what we're going to do is we're going to get under the tree, and you're going to turn the flashlight on. And as soon as we do that, if you see eyes, we're going to shoot as fast as we can, and we're just going to shoot as many baboons as we can. And it's like, aren't baboons one of the most dangerous animals you have here? And he says, yeah, but it's nighttime. We're shooting shotguns. They're just going to try to run away. They're not going to attack. They're just going to run away. And so we get to the first tree, and we flick on the lights, and there's nothing, no baboons. And so it's like, all right, we're going to go to the next spot. So we're walking up what they call the Sand River, and I hear this low, grumbly growl, and I hear bones crunching. And it's like, Rick, what is that? He's like, don't worry about it. It's just probably a couple hyenas working over a bush pig or something. Well, I'm in grass up to my chest. I'm thinking, if a hyena comes after us, even with a shotgun, what am I going to do? He's going to be all over me before I can even see him.
Yeah.
But Rick's not worried, and I'm thinking, I guess it's all right. So we pass up the hyenas. And I'll tell you what, I don't get scared easily. And I wouldn't say I'm scared, but the hairs on the back of my neck were definitely standing up.
Well, you're in the elephant graveyard essentially, and Mufasa's not around.
That's
with an 18-year-old who probably, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 18, thought I would live forever.
Oh, yeah. We're all invincible at 18.
Yeah.
So we go by that, and we go to the next tree, and we turn on the flashlights, and there's eyes every place. And so we just all immediately, there's 3 of us now, and we're, one of the things Rick had said was, don't shoot them when they hit the ground because we want to clean up afterwards, but we don't want to accidentally shoot each other. Mm-hmm. So we're just lighting up this tree, and it was deafening. You got these baboons screaming. You got wounded baboons falling out of the trees, healthy baboons falling out of the trees, dead baboons falling out of the trees. And it's rain. It's just raining baboons in the middle of the night. It's pitch dark. Other than our flashlights, and then it's like, all right, let's clean up. And so then we go and take care of the wounded baboons. And it was one of those nights you just never forget. It'll never leave my memory. And so, I've gone back several times now and hunted with those guys and had some really, really close calls. Almost got killed by a Cape buffalo.
Yeah, you had a buffalo thing, right?
Last October. And
tell us about that.
Yeah, please.
Man. So Rick he reaches out to me and said, dude, we got a buffalo that's just huge, genetic freak. I think he's probably 50 inches wide, which is just unheard of for a buffalo.
Holy cow.
42 inches is big for a buffalo, and you get over 50. I mean, those are just unheard of. It's like, you got to get here. So it's like, all right. So I booked some flights, and we went out there, and we took a buddy of mine, a friend of mine named Dean, super nice guy, and we go, and what happens with buffalo is they become, when they're really big, they become the breeding buffalo. So they get to breed with all the cows. Mm-hmm. And then once they go past a couple of years, they no longer are the breeding buffalo. So the other bulls drive them out of the herd, and they become mean. They become cantankerous. And they hide in the thickets, and they hide, and they call them dug-up boys because they end up, rolling around in the mud, and they're just solitary and mean. So, I'm talking to Rick, and I said, look, and now Rick is almost, I think he's 29 now. So he's gotten a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I think, but I'm not so sure. And we end up, they knew where he's at because they have a tracker from Zimbabwe that's following this buffalo wherever he goes. So when I show up, they got this guy that's been tracking him for 3 weeks, and they know exactly where he's going to be. But he's in this thicket, and you can't get at him in the thicket, especially with a bow and arrow. Uh-huh. It just doesn't work that way. So we go to where we know the thing is waiting for us, and we waited. We were there when the sun came up because that's usually when they'll move. They'll move in the evenings, they'll move in the mornings, and then they'll hunker down all afternoon. And he just stayed there, and we couldn't get him to move. So we went and hunted some more and looked for some other things. And then we came back in the evening, and he still hadn't moved. And then he basically become nocturnal. So he was only coming out at nighttime. Well, we really wanted to get this thing. So we did this, I think, 3 days in a row, and this thing never came out at nighttime. So I'm embarrassed to tell you the whole story, but I'm going to tell you the whole story.
We're here for it.
Nice.
So he says, all right. He says, listen. He said, I got a buddy that's got a helicopter. And he said, would you have any interest in shooting a buffalo out of a helicopter with a bow and arrow? It's like, have you ever even heard of anybody doing that before? It's like, I don't know of anybody that's ever done it before.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right. So I spend the night before, and I'm figuring out how to rig a rope so I can tie it to the opposite strut, hang out the other strut with a bow and arrow, and shoot this thing.
That's amazing.
This is like Tom Cruise stuff right here.
I was all excited about shooting this buffalo out of a helicopter with a bow and arrow. So the pilot gets there with the helicopter the next day, and he says, no, I'm not going to let you do it. It's like, dude, what are you doing here? I mean, this is the whole reason you're here is so I can shoot this buffalo out of.
No one tell you?
He said, no. He said, you can shoot with a rifle out of a helicopter, but you can't do it with a bow and arrow. I was like, I'm not going to shoot this buffalo with a rifle out of it. There's no chance. There's no danger at all. The buffalo has no chance. I'm not going to do it. And so he's like, all right. And so those guys are talking in Afrikaans, and I'm trying to track with what they're saying. And finally, Rick comes back and he says, listen, what if we do this? What if we use this helicopter and we try to scare him out of the bush? And it's like, all right, let's try it. Let's give it a go. So we're lined up in this sand river, and the helicopter goes in. He still doesn't move. So they start throwing shoes and rocks, and they're just trying to do anything to get this move. All of a sudden, this buffalo comes charging out of the brush, and he's only 30 yards in front of me, which is well inside my range. But he's running at 30, 35 miles an hour. And it's like I'm at full draw, and I'm like I can't hit a running target with a bow and arrow. I mean, there may be guys that can do it, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
And so he goes running across, and it's like, Rick, I got no shot here. And he said, dude, I get it. I couldn't have made that shot either.
Yeah.
Well, then the buffalo turns around, runs right back into the thicket. So it's like, all right, now what do we do? So the guy from the helicopter's radioing down. He said, look, there's a trail. It's probably 5-6 feet wide. If you guys backtrack, 100 yards and come around and come up, you might be able to sneak down that trail and get a shot at this buffalo.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's give it a try. So we do exactly that. We come down this wide trail, and I can see the butt of this buffalo. All I can see is his hindquarters. So I'm talking to Rick quietly because we don't want to get busted. And I said, look, if I take 3 steps to my left, I can shoot him in front of his hindquarters. It's going to be a gut shot, and he'll die, but it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
I can't get his vitals from this angle. And Rick is like, dude, he's going to kill us both. He said, I can't back you up from here because the grass is too thick. He said, we need to get the heck out of here. So we quietly back out, and we're standing outside probably 30 yards, maybe 20 yards off of this brush pile.
Yeah.
Trying to formulate the next plan of attack. How are we going to do this? And all of a sudden this buffalo comes charging out. And there's 3 of us there. There's a guy named Robbie, super nice guy. He's videoing, and he's got a 450 Nitro Express for backup.
There's a video of this?
No, because when the buffalo came out of the bush, he dropped his camera like a hot potato and went for his rifle, which was probably a good call.
We're going to that video now. No, that would be great.
So I'm standing there, and I start to draw my bow back, and I got about a second and a half before this buffalo kills me.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is stupid. I'm just going to die here now. And so it was one of those things you don't really even have time to be afraid. It's just one of those moments where it's like, I'm going to die. And your heart rate isn't up. It's just nothing. It's just a recognition that, it's like standing in I-5 and you see a semi-truck bearing down on you. You can't stop it with a BB gun.
Yep.
You're just gonna die.
Here it comes.
And so I'm backtracking as fast as I can, trying to give the guides a little bit of time to see if they can shoot it. And from 10 feet away, Rick shoots that thing right between his eyes, and he slides to a stop 2 feet from where I was standing.
Jeez.
And it's just like, and then the heart rate starts getting up. It's like, holy mackerel, that was really close.
Super close.
I almost bit it. And so then he says, hey, I want to check out your archery setup. Let's do a penetration test on this thing. Well, the buffalo's already dead. It's like, all right. So we back up 30 yards and I shoot him. And then I realized the reason Rick was having me shoot him was so I could have a picture of it with an arrow and light all my buddies. But I've got enough cool stories as it is. I'm not going to make up a story.
Sure.
So we end up that, and I end up messaging some friends back home and whatnot, and it's like, man alive, and I'm worried that I was so scared, and I remember talking to, after it was all over, I was scared. At the time I wasn't really that scared. It was just I'm dead now. So I basically decided I'm not going to do this anymore. And a little bit later, we're out looking for a sable, and we spot a herd of Cape buffalo. And it's like, oh man, I don't want to go off on that note and not be able to hunt Cape buffalo just because I almost got killed. And so I told Rick, I said, Rick, stop the car. And my friend Dean's there, and Rick, and it's just silent for probably 90 seconds as I'm just processing in my head. It's like, all right, do we want to do this again or not? Yeah. And finally I said, we got to do this. And my friend Dean, was sitting there, and Rick is asking me, he said, Brian, what are you thinking? Are you serious? And my friend Dean's like, you don't know Brian. He's serious. If he's even thinking about it, he's serious. So I asked Rick, I said, look, can we get ahead of this herd? And he said, yeah, I think I know where they're heading. There's a water hole not that far down. So we ended up at a blind by this water hole where we were pretty much, out of sight. Yeah. And I ended up shooting a second Cape buffalo.
Holy cow!
Wow.
That same day, but it's the only one I actually shot. But I made a perfect shot on him. He didn't go 50 yards before he died. But there's something about Africa that's just primal and cool. And it's hard to explain it to somebody that's never been there.
Yeah. Well, it keeps drawing you back, right? I mean, you can go anywhere around the world, but it keeps drawing you back to go there.
Yeah, for sure. And I've traveled a lot, but number one place, without a doubt, is just Africa. It's like going back 100 years in time. Yeah. And I mean, they got cell service around there now, and over almost all of Africa.
Cape buffalo are wired with Bluetooth.
Yeah, just about. But no, it's just one of my passions. I just absolutely love it. And so we got to hunt. We hunted, shot more baboons and got a eland on this last trip, and just had a great time.
I was waiting in your story for the helicopter when we were flushing them out to be throwing dead baboons at it out of the helicopter. That's where I thought the story was.
They were going to do anything to get that stupid thing.
I feel like the dead baboons is like the appetizer of the meal. You know what I mean? First we'll do dead baboons, and then it's the buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. So
that's incredible.
But it's just fun, and it's one of those things where it's adventurous. It's I'm planning on going back in March, and I'm gonna try to get a hippo with an archery setup.
That would be
the number one killer of humans in Africa.
Yeah, but they kill less hunters than buffalo do. Buffalo kill more hunters. The hippo kill more humans, and because buffalo pretty much only kill hunters. Hippos will kill anybody that gets in the water. So they'll kill people in a kayak, kill people in a boat, kill people that just happen to be too close to the river.
It's like the most aggressive animal. Is that correct? Is there a second most?
I think they're the most aggressive.
I think it's the most aggressive animal.
Yeah.
And territorial, just crazy like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know.
So by saying you're going back to Africa, you mean we are going back to Africa.
If you mean we by me and Eric, my son-in-law, then yeah, it's definitely going to be
African
Eric, the producer. You're going to Africa? Right? Oh my God!
Was that a yes? All right.
Looks like I'll be running Trayvax for that time.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
American Grindstone is brought to you by Trayvax, the ultimate gear for the modern adventurer. Whether you're hitting the trails, exploring the city, or just navigating everyday life, Trayvax has you covered. Here is the Contour. It's my own personal everyday carry. The Contour is Trayvax's sleek and durable wallet that is designed to be your EDC companion. Made from top grain leather and precision engineered metal, the Contour not only looks great, but is built to withstand whatever life throws at you. But that's not all. Trayvax also offers a wide range of rugged belts, their skeletonized field knife, and the ever-popular OG 2.0, as well as other essentials that blend form and function seamlessly. Their products are made in the USA and come with a 65-year heirloom warranty. Now that is something you can trust. So whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a city dweller, or someone who just appreciates well-crafted gear, Trayvax is the brand for you. Elevate your everyday carry with Trayvax, where style meets durability. Trayvax, earn your story.
So Brian, I think somebody that could listen to this podcast could say, well, yeah, he's got a lot of money, so this is, he can just go do that. But really, I think in the heart of every person, these kind of hobbies, these kind of things, there's a drive. It's a drive that made you successful in business. It's a drive that draws you to some of these more extreme hobbies. What would you say? What keeps you from just going home and turning on Netflix and going to bed at 7:00 at night?
Yeah.
I'm just not wired that way. And Sean, I'll tell you what, and Ryan, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy on the planet because the one thing that I'm good at makes it pretty easy for me to make money. I'm good at business, and it makes it relatively easy for me to make money. I'm not saying it's always been easy. I've been I remember when I was 30, I was knocking at the door of bankruptcy, and we managed to pull out. My wife got on board helping out. She took some part-time jobs, and it took us 7 years to get dug out of the hole. That's a long time to be broke.
Yeah.
7 years. But in honesty, it was some of the best 7 years of my life. Mm-hmm. I remember making, I got 3 daughters, and we're making doll toys for my kids because we didn't have enough money to ring up credit cards to go to Walmart and buy toys.
Wow.
So I'm taking scrap wood, using my table saw and making doll furniture, and my wife is upholstering this stuff up and trying to, and then my kids remember that as one of the best Christmases ever. They had no idea because we were so broke we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But I remember when I went to my wife and we found ourselves, I think we had about $125,000 in credit card debt, and I had no job and I had no business.
Holy buckets.
And it's like we're in it. And I remember talking to her and just said, hey, probably the smart business move is just to declare bankruptcy and start over. But I'd like to at least try to keep all our promises and pay this off. And she never questioned it. She never hesitated. It was just, let's do it. And so 7 years in that, she never complained. She just did what she had to do, and we worked through it. So it's not always good. But that's my life. My life has been a roller coaster, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I even look back at that. Am I glad I went through it? Yeah, I am. Do I want to do it again? No way.
Yeah.
I've been rich. I've been broke. Rich is better. That's just a fact. Anybody that tells you otherwise, probably never been rich.
But I think that
some of the best years I had were when I was broke also.
You have to go through the time of being broke and the struggle to really enjoy the being rich, I guess. I've never been there yet, but at the same time,
rich is relative.
True.
All of us are probably in the top 1% of the planet.
Yeah.
And so we're all rich in some respect.
Agreed.
Do I have
Agreed.
Elon Musk money? Of course not. Do I have, I'm certainly nowhere near a billionaire, not even in the same zip code. But I do better than most people do.
Yeah.
But I guess you look at people that are miserable broke, and they're probably going to be miserable rich. I was pretty happy. I was a pretty happy guy broke, and I'm a pretty happy guy when I'm not broke. But not broke is better.
It just is less stressful.
So.
What do you think hunting in Africa has, maybe what's a takeaway that you had from that for life or for business or just for, what's
great
the takeaway?
question. Absolutely nothing.
Really, even in the last moments of I think I'm gonna die, you don't take away anything of like, what's that one thing that comes in your head? Like, I wish it would have, right before this buffalo kills me, it would have done this.
Not really.
Nothing.
Yeah, not really. I guess the closest thing I would say is this, and I tell people this all the time. Life is not a game of chess. You cannot control every variable. You can't calculate every reasonable move your opposition can make. Life is baseball. And you stand at the plate, and you got to be willing to strike out once in a while, and you swing the bat hard, and occasionally you're going to knock it out of the park. And hopefully, your successes outstrip your failures. But I get people tell me this all the time. It's like, Brian, I want to do business with you. I want to do this or that because everything you touch turns to gold. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have failed more than anybody I know.
Yeah.
I have failed a ton, but I also keep swinging the bat, and I also, I'm willing to keep trying and try big things. And you show me guys that have never failed. I'll show you guys that have never had any great successes. I'll show you guys that have never really challenged themselves and the guys that have never tried hard. And so that's just never been me. I've always kind of lived a little bit aggressively. I don't have, I got a good friend of mine, Jeff, that refers to me as, Brian's birth defect is he has no fear. That's really not true. I do.
Yeah.
But I don't have as much as most guys do. And to me, life is too short to just not take any kind of risks or any kind of chances and try to accomplish something really cool.
Yeah, it seems like resilience is a real theme of your life. Like, I mean, I've been $3,000 in credit card debt, and I thought it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
I was $125,000 in credit card debt. That would be an insurmountable idea, right?
Yeah.
But you're still swinging,
Yeah,
right?
you're playing the odds, right? So it's like if I show up to the game, I swing as hard as I can. My odds are better than if I don't show up at all. If I just give up, right? I mean,
yeah, no, I think that's right, and I think people tend to quit too easy.
Yeah.
Some things that are achievable are just difficult, and you see this, and we've talked about this in the Christian world. You get this a lot where people will give you this answer. It's like, the door was closed, and what? Well, maybe the door wasn't closed. Maybe you just had to kick it down. Maybe you had to go around. Maybe you had to find another path. And so you end up with people running downhill all the time because that's the easiest path. Well, maybe there's a bigger prize at the top of the hill. Maybe you got to turn around and charge the other direction and do that.
Sometimes the door's closed. You just have to turn the handle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just have to try.
A lot of doors are closed. You just have to go over and try to open it.
Yeah.
And people don't do that.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, and that's when you get that complacency of like, you see it like even just like I was thinking about this the other day of like even the way that our medicine in this country is made and like how we want to make people comfortable and we'll give them all these medicines to not have to deal with pain and all that. But pain's good. A little bit of pain is normal. We're supposed to feel those things, right? So the same with that complacency where it's like, well, if I stay in my lane, I don't try to better my life. Like I won't even,
I saw a poster
don't know where that
to
thought was
recruit
going.
for the Marine Corps, and it said, "Pain is weakness leaving the body."
Yeah.
And I tried that to be my mantra, and it doesn't work.
That isn't
Doesn't work.
always true.
Yeah, it isn't
Pain
always
can also be compound fractures,
Yeah.
torn ACLs, and broken collarbones.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of broken collarbones, you have a racing team called Clavicle 3.
Yep.
And you race professionally. You race Jeeps, like just a Jeep Wrangler off the lot.
I haven't raced in a little while, and we plan on getting back into it again. So I started this up. I saw a movie called From Dust to Glory. It was about the Baja 1000, and I'm watching this movie, and there's all these just bigger than life characters, and it's like, I got to do that. That just looks like so much fun. So we ended up signed up with an organization called Jeep Speed, and our first Jeep wasn't particularly fast, but I got hooked. And next thing you know, I'm spending my kid's inheritance, but I got to do this thing. And so we've raced 3 different vehicles over a course of 5 or 6 years, something like that. We got a couple of wins. We won Silver State 300. We won the Parker 425, and for a lot of starts. I mean, 2 wins considering we probably started 30 races, 27, 30 races, and that sounds like a really high failure rate, which it was a really high failure rate. But how many guys do you know that have won 2 races?
Yeah, agreed.
And so you fail, but you learn something with every failure, and you get a little bit better. And finally, I kind of started scaling it back just because I was spending a lot of money at it, and it's like, oh man, at some point we gotta scale it back. But it was a blast while I did it, and I still got one of the cars. In fact, you were with me when we did that shoot over in Ellensburg.
Yeah. What's that one called?
That one's called Hammer. And so we bought when we were getting big into the racing, we decided we were going to build a track in Ellensburg. So I bought 80 acres. And then we bought another 80, and we kept buying until I think we got about 400 acres over there now.
Oh, wow.
And Kittitas County would not let me build a track on my property because I had to get an earth disturbance permit or whatever. Huh. And they said no. Well, then the fires came in to Ellensburg, and the whole area started burning with wildfires. So I contacted the county and told them I was going to put up some fire breaks. And remarkably, the fire breaks, I mean, we just started building fire breaks. and it turned out to be almost exactly what my plan was for a track. But that's
Coincidence.
It just total coincidence. So we ended up, county just green lighted us to do that, and I got to be really good friends with one of my neighbors there, and we don't have neighbors very close because we're way out in the rhubarb. And I remember my neighbor's named Bob, super cantankerous guy when I first met him, but as you got to know him, he was a great guy,
he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, and I knew that the fires were encroaching on my property and his property before I'd even built a house there, and I got a house there now. And I remember calling Bob up, and it's like, Bob, look, if you need my dozer, to clear area around your house, I want you to know you can just help yourself.
Yeah.
And he's like, Brian, I hate to tell you this, I've been on that dozer for the last 3 days, and I didn't hardly know Bob at all at that point. And
But he's like, we got to save the farm.
Yeah, it's like good for you, man. And Bob and I have gotten to be good friends. Super good guy. But so yeah, we had our own test facility, and one of the problems is all the racing is done in either based out of Nevada or Barstow or someplace like that, and it's a 24-hour drive to get there. So how do you ever practice? How do you ever test?
Yeah.
So building this track, we're up in the Rocky area, and it actually is a very, very similar to the kind of terrain we race in. Super rocky, super brutal.
How long are the races typically? Like how many miles?
The longest one I've ever done was 550 miles.
Holy cow!
And
that's longer than going across the state.
Yeah, it's a long race. You're in the car. I could tell you some crazy stories, but you're in the car for 14, 15 hours. And some of the teams will split up driving duties. I didn't. I just drove it all myself.
Man.
You've got a catheter. You're peeing through the floorboard because you don't want to stop and take a leak. It's just insane. So I remember when the first race we won was Silver State 300. Yeah. And I was in the car for almost 14 hours. And man, my adrenaline's charging, and you don't feel tired because you're working hard. And you're kind of pressing the limits all the time of how fast you can go. And my biggest problem in racing was I'd press it too hard and break my car.
Yeah.
And it's with this type of racing, you're trying to figure out the right speed where you can keep your car alive at the end. And that was never my forte. I had always had a tendency to press it too hard. But we got up on the podium. We're getting interviewed. Everything is awesome. We drive off the podium. Everybody, my team there. I got a dozen people on the team. And everybody's excited. Jump out of the car, collapse in a heap on the ground. My legs wouldn't hold my body.
No.
Well, after like 14, 15 hours of sitting there.
And I just didn't think about it, But it's like, oh, man, that was weird.
Holy cow.
The catheter burst everywhere.
You're just leaking fluids
Oh, man.
out of your body and the Jeep.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that is it something with you where you're like proving something, like almost like I need to know if I have what it takes. Like I need to go out to Africa. It's this certain animal, or it's this certain race, or it's this. I need to prove to myself I have what it takes.
I don't think so. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie.
Gotcha.
I like
just the
drive. The feeling of having my adrenaline, fully ramped up.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more to that than the other thing. And
gotcha.
So you look at the hippo hunt that I got coming up in March.
Great name. Great name.
As you get older, it takes more and more to get your adrenaline, you get your juices going, because you've done all the stuff that you do as young men. You've done all that sort of thing. So you have to keep ramping it up a little bit. And I don't think that's really healthy. I'm not sure it's a good idea. But as crazy as it sounds, I'm more afraid of not trying things than I am of getting killed or hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't want to live my life without living it. And,
agreed.
And so I do things probably that I shouldn't. I mean, I've had
how many broken bones?
9 or 10. I've had 3 broken collarbones, broke a foot, broke a skull, broken elbow,
a skull.
Yeah, I've had a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what, you heal up, and
then you get back out there. I love it. I love it, man. I do.
You keep doing it. So, as I get older, I definitely look forward to getting injured less than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You don't heal up as fast when you get to be my age. And it used to be on dirt bikes. You'd crash, and sometimes you bounce, and you get up, and you set up your bike, and you take off again. Once I got into my 40s, it's like, all right, most of the time I crash, something's breaking. And so,
Yeah.
you kind of get smarter about it.
Yeah.
And, but I've had, I shattered my femur into 5 pieces, compound fracture, ambulance ride, the collarbones, 1 with rugby, 2 on dirt bikes. The foot was a street bike accident.
Street bike.
And, I came around a corner and there was a RV right in the middle of my lane.
Yeah.
And so I had to swing onto the shoulder to avoid him. And there was sand on the shoulder. And so slid out. My bike went underneath the RV. And I was lucky I didn't go underneath the RV. But
Holy cow.
broke my foot. Had to ride the bike back with a broken foot. And, my skull was a fist fight. Elbow got hit with a pitch. Just stuff.
Yeah.
You're just out doing stuff hard.
Yeah.
But you know what? I wouldn't trade any of those in. I mean,
Yeah.
And I'm really fortunate on that front. I've had 12 knee operations, 3 ACL reconstructions. You know what? I got no pain in my knees other than, if I go do a, work too hard and I do a long distance hike. The downhill stuff gets to me a little bit now. But for
That's
the most
remarkable.
part, I've healed up from everything just fine.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's crazy. I've been to the hospital twice for doing the laundry.
No.
And the reality is like I probably would take half of those injuries over my 2 trips to the hospital for doing laundry.
For sure. How did this happen? Well, it was the whites.
Well,
I don't know.
it was
The white load. That bleach, I tell you what.
I had it on delicate and I was not.
That's a heavy jug. It's a heavy jug. It's misleading, right?
Yeah, I've managed to go my entire life and never been harmed yet by a wash machine or a dryer.
Wow.
So
Hey, kudos to you. Yeah.
playing it safe. Playing it
You
safe.
play it-
They have a high mortality rate
Yeah.
in the laundry facilities.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've-
very high. It's like they're like a washer is like the hippopotamus of the appliance world. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the low key hippopotamus, the casual hippo.
Yeah. What is Brian, when you think about all these things, like what does that do for your sense of purpose?
That's a loaded question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah. In general, I give away a lot of money, but I'm pretty careful about it. I don't give away to just everybody. I give away to organizations that are careful and aren't squandering money. I don't care about I don't care about the splash they make. So the types of organizations I give to is like Be the One, and I'm sure you know the folks there. But it's a mentorship program where they take people with crummy dads and they provide a mentor. So that's one of the organizations I give with. I donate to LGN. Kim Ryan's doing work in Cambodia and doing work in India, and I feel passionate about that. I've been to Cambodia a bunch of times. I got some friends there I dirt bike with. When I go over there, for a long time I had my own bike sitting in Cambodia. So when I visited, I'd
nice.
have something decent to ride. But honestly, I donate to those type of things that I'm passionate about, but mostly it's family. I want to leave a better world for my kids and a better world for my grandkids. And, I'm working on a 100-year plan right now. And at some point I want to come up with a 500-year plan, which I know seems ambitious, but trying to make sure that my kids, and my grandkids and people that I care about are well taken care of. And so that's kind of one of the reasons I scaled back my racing thing a lot. I was plowing through a whack load of money, but I'm super family oriented. I want to see my kids and my grandkids and their kids succeed and do really well. So that's kind of what on the business front I would say that's one of the main things that drives me. And also it's just I'm a competitive guy. And business, it's just, you look at the money in business, it's a way of keeping score. Do I have enough money to quit right now? Yeah, I could quit, but I'm not ready to quit yet.
Yeah.
And so, if you're going to do it, you want to do it to win, and you want to do your best. And, I could tell you a story. I view that different than I used to. And I used to want to destroy my competition. I not the case anymore. And I was up living in British Columbia, first business I ever owned a portion of. And I had this young kid, I think he was like 10 years old, that he would come over after school and shoot baskets with me because his dad was working late. And so we'd be playing basketball. Yeah. And I just got to really appreciate this kid. Well, at the same time, in business, we had a communications company, and we had a new competitor came in from Vancouver, BC, and this competitor was moving right into our territory, and we decided this is no good. So we targeted him like crazy. He would run a newspaper ad for a sale. We'd target the exact same product for cheaper, and it's like, we're going to drive this guy out of here.
You came to the wrong neighborhood kind of thing.
Exactly. Until one day, this 10-year-old kid comes over to my house, and he says, yeah, we're moving back home. And turns out it was his dad I drove out of business.
Oh, you're kidding.
And
No way.
his dad had moved from Vancouver over to Kelowna, British Columbia, because he wanted his kid to grow up in an area that wasn't a big city, not as much crime, not as much drugs, a better family environment. And I tell you what, man, I felt like crap. And so, it was a eye-opening experience, because when you have competition out there, you got to remember, those are human beings also. Those are guys that are trying to make a living for their families and for their kids.
Yeah.
So do I want to win? Yeah, you bet I want to win. But do I want to destroy my competition? Absolutely not. I want to do the best job I can do, and the chips fall where they fall, and you hope they're doing a good job and they can be successful too. But it really did change my perspective on that. And so I want to win just by providing the best product and the best price and the best marketing and the best team for my employees. I want to do it right. But I don't want to destroy anybody. I want to go out and, hopefully I can make a good living doing what I do, and my competitors can make a good living doing what they do, and they can take care of their kids and their families as well.
You raise the level for everybody around you.
Yeah, what a humbling experience, though.
Oh,
like,
for
truly,
me,
truly.
it kicked my butt. It was
I can
like,
only imagine.
It was one of those moments I look back in my life that was really just a poignant experience where it's like, all right, I got to reevaluate.
Yeah.
My perspective here.
The approach at that, what you've been doing. Yeah. Wild, man. I think everyone should have an experience like that. Someone like maybe not so big, but like to just remember there's people around you.
Be a paradigm shift.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here you are showing love to this kid, right? And that,
and you weren't like,
in the
suck
meantime,
it, kid.
In the meantime, I'm driving his dad out of business.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it.
You're like, I'm your dad now.
But
it's the long con. You will stay with me.
But the point is, I mean, in this case, it was super poignant because it was his dad.
Yeah.
But most of my competitors have 10-year-old kids, and they got 15-year-old kids, and they got 3-year-old kids, and they're out there trying to make their way. So I guess to me, winning doesn't necessarily mean my competition losing either. It just means I'm going to do the best I can. I'll provide good product for my customers and a good environment for my employees, and we're going to do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So
I think that's one of the things I've seen you do with Trayvax is you're like, just as you're trying to right the ship here and get this thing going, hey, let's just make great stuff. I've never heard you once in the several months I've been here now talk about somebody else's work. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to set ourselves apart. We're going to move in this direction. I see that often. Yeah,
and you'll never hear me say that. It's not my job to drive anybody out of business. It's not my job to defeat anybody.
Yeah.
It's my job to provide, if we can provide the best product at a reasonable price and great service to our customers, we'll do fine.
Yep.
So that's our job.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we let our competitors do whatever their job is.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And then with Trayvax, like moving forward, what are things on the horizon that you're excited about?
Yeah, we're developing product right now, and one of the issues, Trayvax hasn't really introduced new product in about a year, and so we got a lot of customers out there that are like, give us something else to buy. I mean, we got customers that every time we come out with a new product, they buy it just because they want to have the entire collection. So some of the stuff is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We're doing a pet line, if you can believe that. So, we're making a dog collar that's a little bit wider, that uses our really premium leather, that looks cool, that has some features that nobody else has done, and so that's one of our products. And then it comes with a leash, and it's got some features on the leash
that's
that
awesome.
I can't talk about yet.
I did see some like prototypes back there. I didn't want to talk on it, but it looks awesome.
Beautiful.
It looks awesome.
They look beautiful.
Yeah.
Then we're coming out with a couple of new wallet products that I think will go well, and so we've kind of specialized in the kind of the minimalistic product line. So we've taken our best seller, which is the Contour, and we've simplified it. And it's what I have in my pocket right now. And it's one of the reasons I was excited about this company is I started carrying a Contour wallet, and I thought, man, this thing is just great.
Yeah.
So we're revamping that a little bit. We're considering coming out with a line for some cigar products, a really cool cutter.
Very cool.
And some we've got a lighter that we're on the cigar lighter that we're on the verge of coming out with, and just some different things, and we kind of specialize. Most of our market is men. We have some ladies, but it's mostly men, and it's men that want cool stuff. It's just a little bit different. And it's cool. So it's made out of, like, we have one of our better selling products is a Contour. It's made out of titanium. Is there really a need to have titanium in your wallet? I don't think there's a need for it.
No.
But it's cool.
That's the one I got.
Yeah,
me too.
It's just something that's a little bit different, a little bit unique.
Yeah.
And
It's a flex.
yeah.
It is a flex.
So, and there's a couple other things. There's one product we're coming out with that I can't even talk to you about yet because I'd have to shoot you.
Just like Hillary.
You'd be mounted on the wall like Hillary. Yeah.
That's right.
Hillary and the porcelain ginger.
So but that's a big part of it is coming up with new products. But because we got a reputation of having kind of innovative stuff, we got to be careful about what we introduce. We can't come up with something that doesn't work. It's got to be functional. Yeah. It's got to have some cool factor, and it's got to work really well.
Yep.
So
so my buddy, he makes wallets. He's an artisan wallet maker, does it all by hand. And so I had his wallet forever, but then we had a little hangout, and I popped out, this bad boy, and he was like, dude, that is he looked at it for like 10 minutes straight, just loving every detail
I'm going to make it my
it.
personal mission to drive your buddy.
I know. He was like, well, what the
him.
heck, man? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm doing this whole thing. But
it is titanium.
But it's great because we're like, then later that night, I need a bottle opener. He's like, just pull out your wallet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're right, though. I can. Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is kind of blows my mind how, and I've had mine for a couple months here, but how much I use the thing. I didn't think it'd be so often, but I do. I pull it out constantly.
And it's a chance to show it off, too.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I love about Mark King. He can design that. He's the one that designed that Contour.
So nice.
And I could never design that. And it's just really cool. And it's something that's functional. It's neat. People like to show off. And so that's why we have to be really careful in what we introduce, because Mark has set the bar really high on product releases. It has to be done right.
And collectors want it right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I pulled mine out at an event a couple weeks ago, and there was 4 or 5 guys around the table, and 3 of the guys pulled out their phones and were taking pictures of it and pulling it up on their on their browser, and I was like, that's amazing.
Purchase. Yeah. So true.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, just put my name in there.
Yeah. If you put my name in the comment on there,
I'm gonna need that 5%.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. I think it's a goal of ours to have you on the show regularly because I think we want to understand you and your heart, but at the same time, I think and your vision for Trayvax. But at the same time, I think there's so much in your life that we can glean and help our listeners glean as they. To help get them off the couch, get them out of maybe a state of depression, and just go and do something that you're passionate about.
And I'll tell you what, that's one thing I'm super passionate about. You see young men all the time that spend all their time on their iPads and their cell phones, and it's like they're trying to live vicariously through somebody else. They're watching TikTok videos, they're watching Instagram, they're doing all these things instead of being out there and actually doing things themselves. And I think it's really hurt society in general. And I have 3 daughters, and it's tough to find men that are strong leaders, way tougher than it used to be. And part of it is I think society has tried really hard to feminize men and to vilify masculinity. Yeah. And I don't think masculinity is toxic at all as long as it's channeled correctly.
Yeah.
And so. It is. I think it's really sad where people spend so much of their time looking at a screen instead of actually being out there doing things. And so I did a trip up Machu Picchu with my family, 7-8 years ago, and just beautiful. It was a 2-day hike, lots of elevation gain. I mean, it kicked my butt. It was a hard hike, and you get there, and I did I'm starting to take pictures because everybody's got these. I call them a narcissistic, which is selfie.
Narcissistic.
That's great.
I did a whole. I decided I was gonna post that on social media and do all my photographs from Machu Picchu, and it was like 29 photos of other people taking selfies of themselves. and you go to a baseball game. It's not important they watch the game. It's important that they get lots of selfies so they can let the whole world know that they're at a baseball game.
I'm at an event, you know.
And so, I have a netting company. There's a reason they put all this netting around the infield now, so you don't get to be right on the field. People used to watch the game. Now they don't. They're at the game watching their phones. And I think we've done society a colossal disservice.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're hearers, not doers anymore, right?
Yeah.
We're just complacent people. Absolutely.
When are we going to release the narcissistic for Trayvax? Because
We are
I feel
not.
like that needs to be
It will be made out of
Not
titanium.
going to happen.
titanium
Not gonna-
narcissistic.
Never do it.
Open a bottle from 2 feet
Trayvax,
away.
Trayvax has got to be out there about guys out there doing things. Guys getting in the
Agreed.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about guys that are out there taking pictures of other people doing stuff.
Yeah.
Got to
That's
earn your
just-
story.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Brian Davidson, thank you for your time.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
for shooting monitor lizards and bringing good stories to our time. And inadvertently, you bought dinner for us tonight, too, so we appreciate that, buddy.
Hey,
that.
you're more than welcome. So,
Thanks.
Look
man.
forward to having
Nice
you
to
back
talk to you
again.
guys.
Brian Davidson, right here on American Grindstone. Tune in every week. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your mom about us. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.